Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Plincola Estes. Chapter 3. Nosing Out of the Facts, the Retrieval of Intuition as Initiation. The Doll in Her Pocket, Vasalisa the Wise. Intuition is the treasure of a woman's psyche. It is like divining instrument, and like a crystal through one can see with uncanny interior vision. It is like a wise old woman who is with you always, who tells you exactly what the matter is, tells you exactly whether you need to go left or right. It is a form of the one who knows, old, like a sabe, the wild woman. In the traditions I was raised in, dedicated storytellers were always oft under some psychic hill, up their knees in story dust, brushing away centuries of dirt, digging under overlays of culture and conquest, numbering every frieze and fresco of stories they could find. Sometimes a story had been reduced to powder, sometimes portions and details are missing or rubbed out. Often the form is intact, but the coloring is destroyed. But even so, every dig holds hope for finding an entire body of story intact and unbroken. The following tale is just such an incredible treasure. To my mind, the old Russian tale Vasalisa is a woman initiation story with few essential bones astray. It is about the realization that most things are not as they seem. As women, we call upon our intuition and instincts in order to sniff things out. We use all our senses to wring the truth from things, to extract nourishment from our own ideas, to see what there is to see, to know what there is to know, to be keepers of our own creative fires, and to have intimate knowing about the life-death life cycles of all nature. This is an initiated woman. Stones with Vasalisa is a central character are told in Russia, Romania, Yugoslavia, Poland, and through all the Baltic countries. In some instances, the tale is commonly called Vasalisa the Wise. I found evidence of its archetypical roots dating back at least to the old horse goddess cults, which predate classical Greek culture. This tale carries ages-old psychic mapping about introduction into the underworld of wild female god. It is about infusing human women with wild women's primary instinctual powder intuition. The pattern for my literary version of the Vasalisa tale spawned here was given to me by my aunt Kathy. It begins with one of the oldest storytelling devices, once there was and once there was not. This paradoxical phrase is meant to alert the soul of the listener that this story takes place in the world between worlds, where nothing is as it first seems. So let us begin. Vasalisa. Once there was and there was not a young mother who lay on her deathbed, her face pale as white wax roses in the sacristy of a church nearby. Her young daughter and her husband sat at the end of their old wooden bed and prayed that God will guide her safety into the next world. The dying mother called Vasalisa in the little child in red boots and white apron at the mother's side. "Here is a doll for you, my love," the mother whispered, and from the hair coverlet she pulled a tiny doll which, like Vasalisa herself, was dressed in red boots, white apron, black skirt, and a vest embroidered all over with colored thread. "Here are my last words, beloved," said the mother. Should you lose your way or be in need of help, ask this doll what to do. You'll be assisted. Keep the doll with you always. Do not tell anyone about her. Feed her when she's hungry. This is my mother's promise to you, my blessing on you, her daughter, dear daughter. And with that, the mother's breath fell into the depths of her body, where it gathered up her soul and rushed out from between her lips, and the mother was dead. The child and her father mourned for a very long time. but like the field cruelly plowed under the wall, the father's life rose green from the furrows again, and he married a widow with 2 daughters. Although the new stepmother and the new daughters spoke in polite tones and always smiled like their ladies, there was something of the rotten behind their smile which Vasalisa's father did not perceive. Sure enough, when the 3 women were alone with Vasalisa, they tormented her, forced her to wait on them, sent her to chop wood so her lovely skin will become blemished. They hated her because she had sweetness about her that was otherworldly. She was also very beautiful. Her breasts were bounding, while theirs dwindled from meanness. From being mean. She was helpful and uncomplaining, while the stepmother and stepsisters were among themselves like rats in the offal pile at night. One day the stepmother and the stepsister simply could not stand Vasalisa any longer. "Let us conspire to make the fire go out, and then let us send Vasalisa into the forest to Baba Yaga, the witch, to beg fire for our hearth. And when she reaches Baba Yaga, well, old Baba Yaga will kill her and eat her." Oh, they all clapped and squeaked like things that live in the dark. So that evening, when Vasalisa came home from gathering wood, the entire house was dark. She was very concerned and inquired her stepmother, "Well, what has happened? What will we have to cook with? What will we do to light the darkness?" The stepmother admonished, "You stupid child, obviously we have no fire, and I can't go out in the woods because I'm old. My daughters can go because they are afraid, so you are the only one who can go out into the forest to find Baba Yaga and get a coal to start out a fire again." Vasalisa replied innocently, "Well, all right, yes, I'll do that." And so she set out. The woods became darker and darker, and a distinct crack under her feet, frightening her. She reached down in the long, deep pocket of her apron, and there was the doll her dying mother had given her. And Vasalisa patted the doll in her pocket and said, "Just touching this doll, yes, I feel better." And at every fork in the road, Vasalisa reached into her pocket and consulted the doll. "Well, should I go to the left or should I go to the right?" The doll indicated yes or no, or this way or that way. And Vasalisa fed the doll some of her bread as she walked and followed what she felt was emanating from the doll. Suddenly a man in white on a white horse galloped by, and became daylight. Farther on, a man in red sauntered by a red horse, and the sun rose. Vasalisa walked and walked, and just as she came to the hovel of Baba Yaga, a rider dressed in black came trotting on a black horse, and rode right into Baba Yaga's hut. Swiftly it became night. The fence made of skulls and bones surrounding the hut began to blaze with an inner fire, so the clearing there in the forest glowed with an eerie light. Now the Baba Yaga was a very fearsome creature. She traveled not in a chariot, nor in a coach, but in a cauldron shaped a mortar which fled along with all by itself. She rode this vehicle with an oar shaped like a pestle, and all the while she swept out the tracks where she had been with a broom made of the hair of a person long dead. And the cauldron flew through the sky with Baba Yaga's own greasy hair flying behind her. Her long chin curved up and her long nose curved down, and they met in the middle. She had a tiny white goatee, and warts of her skin from her trade in toads. Her brown-stained fingernails were thick and ridged like roof, and so curled over she could not make a fist. Even more strange was the Baba Yaga's house. It sat atop huge, scaly yellow chicken legs, and walk about all by itself, and sometimes twiddle around and around like an ecstatic dancer. The bolts on the doors and shutters were made of human fingers and toes, and the lock on the front was a snout with main-pointed teeth. Vasalisa consulted her doll and asked, "Is this the house we seek?" And the doll in its own way answered, "Yes, this is what you seek." And before she could take another step, Baba Yaga in her cauldron descended on Vasalisa and shouted down at her, "What do you want?" And the girl trembled. "Grandmother, I come for fire. My house is cold. My people will die. I need fire." Baba Yaga snapped, "Oh yes, I know you and your people well, you useless child. You let the fire go out. That's an ill-advised thing to do. And besides, what makes you think that I shall give you the flame?" Vasalisa consulted her doll, and quickly replied, "Because I asked." Baba Yaga poured, "You're lucky. That is the right answer." And Vasalisa felt very lucky she had given the right answer. Baba Yaga threatened, "I cannot possibly give you fire until you have done work for me. If you perform this task for me, you shall have the fire. If not—" And here Vasalisa saw Baba Yaga's eyes turn suddenly to red cinders. If not, my child, you shall die." So Baba Yaga rumbled into the hovel and lay down upon her bed and ordered Vasalisa to bring her what was cooking in the oven. And the oven was enough food for 10 people, and the Yaga ate it all, leaving just a tiny crust and a thimble soup for Vasalisa. "Wash my clothes, sweep the yard, and clean my house, prepare my food, and separate the middlewood come from the good. Come and see that everything is in order. I will be back to inspect your work later. If it is not done, you will be my feast." And with that, Baba Yaga flew off her cauldron, with her nose as the windsock and her hair as the sail, and it became night again. Vasalisa turned to her doll, and soon as the Yaga had done, "What should I do? Can I complete this task in time?" The dolls assured her she could, and to eat a little and go to sleep. Vasalisa fed the doll a little too, and then she slept. In the morning the doll had done all the work, and all that remained was the meal to be cooked. In the evening the Yaga returned and found nothing undone. Pleased in a way, but not pleased because she could find no fault, Baba Yaga sneered, "You're a very lucky girl." Then she called on her faithful servant to clean the comb, and 3 pairs of hands appeared in mid-air and began to rasp and crush the comb. The shaft flew in the house like a golden snow. Finally it was done, and Baba Yaga sat down to eat. She ate for hours and ordered Vasalisa on the morrow to again clean the house, sweep the yard, and launder her clothes. The Yaga pointed to a great mound of dirt in the yard. "In that pile of dirt are many poppy seeds, millions of poppy seeds, and I want in the morning to have 1 pile of poppy seeds and 1 pile of dirt, all separated from each other. Do you understand?" Vasalisa almost fainted. "Oh my, how am I going to do that?" She reached into her pocket, and the doll whispered, "Don't worry, I will take care of it." That night Baba Yaga snored off to sleep, and Vasalisa tried to pick the poppy seeds out of the dirt. After a time the doll said to her, "Sleep now. All will be well." Again the doll accomplished this task, and when the old woman returned home, all was done. Baba Yaga spoke sarcastically through her nose. "Well, lucky for you that you were able to do these things." She called for her faithful servants to press the oil from the poppy seed, and again 3 pairs of hands appeared and did so. While the Yaga was smearing her lips with grease from her stew, Vasalisa stood nearby. "What are you staring at?" barked Baba Yaga. May I ask you some questions, grandmother? Asked Vasalisa. Ask, ordered the Yaga, but remember, too much knowledge can make a person old too soon. Vasalisa asked about the white man and the white horse. Aha, said the Yaga fondly. That first is my day. And the red man in the red horse, that is my rising sun. And the black man on the black horse, ah yes, that is the third. He is my knight. I see, said Vasalisa. Come, come, child. Wouldn't you like to ask more questions? Widow Yaga. Vasalisa was about to ask about the pairs of hands that appeared and disappeared, but the doll began to jump up and down in her pocket. So instead, Vasalisa said, no, grandmother. As you yourself say, too much. To know too much can make you old too soon. Ah, said the Yaga, cooking her head like a bud. Cocking her head, not cooking, cocking her head like a bud. You are wiser than your years, my girl. And how do you come to be this way? By the blessing of my mother, smiled Vasalisa. Blessing, the snitch Baba Yaga, blessing. We need no blessings around this house. You best be on your way, daughter. She pushed Vasalisa out into the night. I'll tell you what, child, here. Baba Yaga took a skull with fairy eyes from her fence and put it on a stick. Here, take this skull on a stick home with you. There's your fire. Don't say another word, just be on your way. Vasalisa began to thank the Yaga, but the little doll in her pocket began to jump up and down, and Vasalisa realized she must take the fire and go. She ran for home through the dark forest, following the turns and twisting the road as the doll told her which way to go. Vasalisa came through the forest carrying the skull with fire blazing from its ear, eye, nose, and mouth holes. Suddenly she became frightened for its weight and its eerie light, and thought to throw it away, but the skull spoke to her and urged her to calm herself and to continue toward the home of her stepmother and stepsisters, and this she did. As Vasilisa came nearer and nearer to her house, the stepmother and stepsister looked out the window and saw a strange glow dancing through the woods. Closer and closer it came. They could not imagine what it could be. They had decided that Vasalisa's long absence meant she was dead by now and her bones dragged away by animals and good ridings. Vasalisa advanced closer and closer to home, and as the stepmother and the stepsister saw it was her, they ran to her, saying they had been without fire since she left, and no matter how hard they had tried to start one, it always went out. Vasalisa entered the house, feeling triumphant, for she had survived her dangerous journey and brought fire back to her home. But the skull and the stick watched the stepsisters and the stepmother every move and burned into them, and by morning it had burned the wicked trio to cinders. And there we have it, an abrupt ending to quick people out of the fairy tale and back into reality again. There are many endings to these sort of fairy tales. There are the equivalent of saying boo to bring listeners back to mundane reality. Vasalisa is a story of handing down the blessings of women power, of intuition from mother to daughter, from one generation to the next. This great power intuition is composed of line and fast inner seeing, inner hearing, inner sensing, and inner knowing. Over generation, these intuitive powers became as buried streams within women, buried by disuse and unfounded charges of disrepute. However, Jung once remarked that nothing was ever lost in the psyche. I think we can be confident that things lost in the psyche are still there. So too, this well of women, instinctual intuition has never been lost, and whatever is covered over can be brought back out again. To grasp the import of such a tale, we understand that all its components represent characterization of a single woman's psyche, so all aspects of the story belong to and elucidate an individual psyche undergoing an initiatory process. Initiation is enacted by completing certain tasks. In this tale, there are 9 tasks of the psyche to complete. They focus on learning something of the ways of the old wild mother. Through completion of this task, a woman's intuition, that knowing being who walks wherever women walk, looking at all things in their lives and commenting on the truth of it all with swift accuracy, is reset into a woman's psyche. The goal is a loving and trusting relationship with this being whom we have come to call the knowing woman, the essence of the wild woman archetype. In the rite of the old female goddess Baba Yaga, there are tasks of this initiation. First task, allowing the too good mother to die. In the opening of detail, the mother is dying and bequeaths to her daughter an important legacy. The psychic tasks of this stage in a woman's life are this: accepting that ever watchful, hovering, protecting psychic mother is not adequate as a central guide of one's future instinctual life. That too good mother dies. Taking on the task of being one's own, developing one's own consciousness about danger, intrigue, politics. Becoming alert by oneself, for oneself, letting die one must die. As the too good mother dies, the new woman is born. In detail, the initiatory process begins when the dear and good mother dies. She is not there to match Vasalisa's hair anymore. In all our lives as daughters, there is a time when the good mother of the psyche, the one which served us appropriately and well in early time, turns into a too good mother, one which, by virtue of her overly safeguarding values, begins to prevent us from responding to new challenges and thereby to deeper development. In the natural process of our maturing, the too good mother must become thinner and thinner, must dwindle away until we are left to wait. Mi amor. In the natural process of maturing, the too good mother just become thinner and thinner, must dwindle away until we're left to sign ourselves in a new way. While we are always certain of a core of her warmth, this natural psychic transition leaves us our own in a world that is not motherly to us. But wait, this too good mother is not all she at first seems. Is not all she at first seems. That's wrong written. Under the blanket, she has a tiny doll to give her daughter. ¡Ay! Vaya juega con Melek. There is nothing of the wild mother underneath this figure. The too good mother cannot completely leave this out, for she is the milk-teeth mother, the blessed one every baby needs in order to gain the toehold in the psychic world of love. So even though this too good mother cannot leave an influence beyond a certain point in a girl's life, she does right by her offspring here. She blesses Vasalisa with the doll, and this, as we see, is a great blessing indeed. This dramatic psychological dwindling of the overarching mother occurs as a girl moves from the four-lean nest of pre-adolescence to the jolting jungle of adolescence. For some girls, however, the process of developing a new, more shrewd inner mother, the mother called intuition, was only half completed then, and women so inducted have wandered for years wishing for and wanting the complete initiatory experience and patching themselves up as best they could. The arresting of a woman's initiation process occurs for various reasons, such as when there has been too much psychological hardship early in one's life, especially when there has been no consistent good enough mother in the early years. The initiation may also be stalled or uncompleted because there is not enough tension in the psyche. The too good mother has the stamina of a formidable weed and leaf song, waving her leaves and overprotecting her daughter, even though the script says exit stage left now. And this situation, women often feel too timid to proceed into the woods and resist it all they can. For this, as well as to other adult women from whom the rigors of life itself chip and distance them from their deeply intuitive life, and whose plaint is often, I am so tired of taking care of myself, there is a good and wise remedy, a reaffirming of and retracing or reinitiation